Hello. Welcome back to cryptomentals.com. Kevin here, and today we're going to look at the mana chart, so Decentraland. And I've got a monthly candle chart pulled up from Poloniex of all exchanges. They had the farthest backdated mana chart that I could find. And it goes back to October 2018, which is pretty close to around the ICO, if I remember correctly. I think that was probably earlier in 2018. But I just want to look at a couple things on this monthly chart before zooming in. One is a really nice, long, wide, rangy bottom that eventually broke out to just this huge move. I mean, this run-up was in 2021, and it was part of this sort of metaverse hype. Metaverse was the big buzzword at the time. Huge narrative in crypto, but then that narrative went outside of crypto too, with even Facebook changing their name to Meta. And Mark Zuckerberg going out and hyping metaverses left and right. However, like a lot of these things, they just end up, the hype dies and then the bear cycle comes in, and Mana enjoyed this massive run up to almost $6. And then today it's worked its way all the way back down to 33 cents. Quite a move. And now it's starting to show signs of a potential bottom. I mean, hopefully you can at least appreciate why it would be better to be a buyer here at 33 cents than way up here. You know, we're trying to we want to be involved in these stories from the lows so that we can sell them up here. We're not buying these run-ups. So right now, no one cares about Mana. So this is a perfect time for us to start at least caring a little bit. We care about Mana just a little bit, because location's looking pretty promising here. So that said, there's no real bottom here yet, and altcoins are, especially altcoins like this, top 200 market cap kind of things, they're all in a downtrend still, and they are not turning just yet. So sure, it's a nice level here, and it might turn out to be a bottom in this area, and I'll show that on the weekly chart here in a moment. Like, we are coming down against the lows again, and we're in a place where we could see a bottom. But there is just some downside risk left here that I want to point out. Just zoom in here a little bit, you know, and you see these lows look a little different on Binance. They actually took out these lows. I'll show that in a minute. But, you know, on this Poloniex chart, this low's holding at the moment. So, you know, this is the bottom of a trading range potentially, and a good place to look for a bottom. It's just not here yet. And we have to kind of respect the fact that we've been making lower highs and lower lows, and, you know, this was a key lower high from above, and then it broke down and didn't make a new low. It did on Binance just barely, but did kind of make a new low here on Binance, and then here we made another lower high and rolled over again. So we potentially have an M if we take out the lows here. So if we start losing this white line, which is 25 cents, then we actually have a big M, and there's no reason to think that we can't explore lower. So the downside risk is very much there. And I'll draw a couple support lines here. I mean, I'll take these two key highs just because they're close to each other, and they were the breakout highs. Obviously, price never looked back once breaking through there. So I think that's a solid level for a bounce if prices shoot down into here, which I think they very well likely could. So stink bids like 15, 16 cents might turn out to be very nice buys down the road. And that's sort of what I lean towards happening. But the reality is too, is maybe, you know, that's 50% down from where it is now. And the reality is I could see also this being the next line I'll draw, which was sort of a W. The right side's a little lower. It's not a true double bottom, but it basically is a double bottom, considering this was the COVID dump, which took out the lows here on some things. You know, like Bitcoin didn't lose the lows, but lots of coins like this did. But, you know, it broke out hard and then found support against that level for several months here before taking off into this ripper. So I think that line's valid at 7 cents, which is another 50% down from here. So, I mean, there's a huge move from 35. You know, you could buy here at 34 cents basically, and maybe have to ride it all the way down to 7 or so before this thing truly starts turning around. And then, of course, all bets are off. It could keep going lower after that. But, you know, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. It's just, we're trending down is my point, and there's plenty of downside risk here, even though this is starting to look cheap. So like I'm going to say with most of these coins, First, let's go to a weekly chart, and I'm going to move to the Binance chart just so I can show you that those lows actually were taken out for one. Oops, that's BTC. So slightly different picture here in the fact that we made new lows here and then even made a new low here. So technically we're still trending down very much. So we're making a, lower, just drew that kind of weird, but we've made a, we had a high here, made a key low, bounced, made a lower high, and then now have dumped again to a new low, and then made a lower high and a new low. So that looks like an M to me, right? And a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. So it's not really looking like it's ready to turn yet to me. And you see the open air kind of right here against, even on this Binance chart, if I drew that line, hopefully you can still see the same argument applies. There's a lot of room for this to fall. So by all means, if you take some nibbles here, okay, you're buying against the lows. You can see the move that happened here off that cheeky little W. That's what we want to see. Nice little W, popped it up against the range highs, and then dumped it again. We don't see a W yet. Bare minimum, we got to see some sort of W here, and it's just not coming in. My gut tells me what's likely to happen, considering I think there's still a couple more months of sort of sluggishness in altcoins. And most of them are going to be looking kind of like this. My gut tells me, like, if I put on like a 21 EMA here, you can see resistance there, and I get the feeling we'll probably run up into that and then push to a new low after that. And then surely some time down the road we'll see a W somewhere, and when that breaks out, that's when I think we can start looking at higher prices, in a real bull market, is once we start seeing those bottoms wherever they come in. Now, keep in mind with Mana, the cool thing is the upside targets are huge. So like, even say we did bottom right here, right off that line, just to make it easy. And that's 13 cents. And then maybe we buy the W's at like 25 cents. So you end up long from 25 cents. Draw my fibs down to that low, and I'll just put a 50% level. So half the range back is to $3. So if you're buying at 25 cents, a move up to $3 is quite a substantial move. And that's not even looking for new highs here. We're not looking for Mana to go break out and be the next greatest thing. Just to move back to taking half the range back, just to bounce up to half the range, that's almost 10x from wherever I just drew my thing here. That's 32. So even if we're buying lower, that's just hypothetical at the moment, but that's the kind of target I'm looking for on something like this. So definitely like the idea of Mana. But just got to see a W come in here. And even with this 21, you can see how we're still just drifting down here. I mean, even if bare minimum, we'd have to see a W kind of through the 21 right there. And that might happen. And that'll just mean the bottom's in higher. And then we can buy that W or retest of. I don't really care where it comes in per se. I think the most important thing is to be patient for it to actually come in. So, beautiful chart. Hopefully you recognize the pattern that I was showing 2 videos ago or whenever that was. I mean, this is that run up and then all the way back down and start putting in a nice rounded out bottom. And eventually it will, where does it come in over here? I like it. And if you go to the blog, cryptominerals.com, there's a write-up on Mana, a little bit more information about it from a fundamental perspective. And I've even been playing around on Decentraland today a little bit, and maybe I'll report back on that down the road. But we'll leave this technical analysis here, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.